Ace Attorney Dual Destinies is a first in many ways for the Ace Attorney franchise. It's the first 3D entry in the series, it's the first game to feature Athena, and it's the first entry in the series that I didn't like. There are a variety of reasons for why I dislike this game, but first, some background. Development on Dual Destinies began in 2011. We have a problem already. You see, Shu Takumi, the creator and lead writer/director of the series, was already busy working on Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright, a crossover spin-off game, which meant that he wasn't available to work on Dual Destinies. In his place, new producers, directors, and writers were hired. Let's see who they are. The new producer was Motohide Eshiro, who had worked as a producer on other Ace Attorney games. Okay, we're off to a good start. The new directors are Takeshi Yamazaki, who worked as a director for the Investigation games, and Yasuhiro Seto, who has never directed an Ace Attorney game before, but has previous directing experience at least. As for the writers, take a look at their IMDb pages. A keen eye will notice that these writers have never written games before. The reason why this game feels like it was written by a team of amateur writers is because, well, it was. When you play this game, you can tell that the writers aren't completely confident in what they're doing. You can tell that the mastermind behind the series was absent from development. You can tell that the game could have been improved by the presence of a great writer. A great writer like me. I mean, come on, name another YouTuber who can pull off a segue like that. Actually, please don't. We'll talk more about this game's flaws in a bit, but first, hi, I'm Bizaster, and welcome to or back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're doing well. Today, we will be reviewing Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, the 5th game in the mainline Ace Attorney series, and the 2nd game in the Apollo Justice trilogy. Speaking of which, in case you missed my video on Apollo Justice, you can check it out with the link above. Here's how this video will work. First, I'll go through the cases, talking about them and giving them individual ratings. Oh yeah, pretty big spoiler warning, by the way. And then I'll move on to talking about the non-story elements of the game, such as the art and music, and finally, I'll give it a review score out of 10. But without any further ado, here we go. Also, please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1K subs by the end of the year, and if you could help, that would mean so much. Thank you. Case 1, Turnabout Countdown, starts out with a bang, or more accurately, an explosion, with a fully voiced and animated intro sequence. Pretty sick, right? If only the actual anime had that animation quality instead of, well, you know. This was a really cool introduction to the game. It was also fucking whiplash going from it to the actual game. So apparently I lied earlier when I said that this was the first 3D game in the series, because the first 3D game in the series was actually the spin-off crossover game with Professor Layton, which I haven't played, because it's the only Ace Attorney game that isn't on the Switch. Now, I may know fuck all about this game, but from what I can tell, the graphics are decent, and it's got me thinking that they gave the game's development team all of the good CG artists, because this game looks fucking bad. We'll talk more about the graphics later though. For now, let's talk about this case. So this is a pretty special case. Not only is it the first one in the game, it's also the first one to feature Athena Sykes. Athena's our new protagonist, and she's a cool, athletic, energetic girl who doubles as a law prodigy, becoming a defense attorney at the Write Anything agency at the age of 18. In this case, however, she's serving as an assistant. But who is she assisting? Apollo, that's who. The two are defending Juniper Woods, Athena's, childhood friend. But just as they're about to enter the courtroom, Apollo passes out. Oh yeah, I guess I should mention that Apollo got injured during that explosion from the intro, which is why he, 1, looked like that, and 2, collapsed. Fortunately, this means that Athena gets to defend. So here's what happened. During a trial in courtroom number 4 the previous day, a bomb that was hidden inside of an elephant plush detonated. Luckily, most of the people had been evacuated to safety, but unfortunately, a detective named Candace Arm was killed. The reason why Juniper is suspected is because her fingerprints were found on the burnt plush that the bomb had been hidden in. And now, with all of that covered, let's get into the trial. Man, I'm so excited to play as Athena. Just kidding! So yeah, surprise, Phoenix arrives and takes over the defense, which means that Athena is just the assistant again. Yay! Fucking Christ. I should probably mention that in between Apollo Justice and this game, Phoenix got his attorney's badge back, which is good because it successfully concludes his arc from the previous game, but also bad because it means that both this game and the next one force him back into the protagonist role, and this case is a great example of that. Anyways, the prosecutor we're facing in this trial is Gaspin Payne, the brother of Winston Payne, who is pretty much just him, in this case at least. The witness he calls to the stand is Ted Tonate, a bomb disposal specialist who claims to be the first person to discover Arm's body. Now, here's a little quiz for you. There are two witnesses, Ted and Juniper. We know that Juniper is innocent because she's our client. We've already had a case where our client turns out to be guilty, and the Ace Attorney series doesn't like retreading old ground.
Except for when it does.
Besides, she's pretty frail and is not an explosives expert, unlike Ted. By process of elimination, who's guilty? I'll give you 3, 2, yeah, it's Ted. Man, it's really sad to see how bad the writing in Ace Attorney has gotten. So here's what really happened. Ted was dismantling and selling bombs on the black market, and his next target was the one used to blow up the courtroom. However, the victim caught him, so he whacked her over the head with it, killing her. Before she died though, she wrote his ID number in blood on the ground. Sorry, his name would have just been too convenient, I guess. When the bomb went off like we saw in the intro, Ted used the opportunity to make it look like the explosion had killed the victim, and he changed her dying message from L10015R to Woods, Juniper's last name, in order to frame her. But even though the case gets solved, there's still one glaring issue. Oh no, Apollo has become super fucking edgy for some reason and is now being mysterious and leaving. Oh no. Seriously, dude, ever since he put on that jacket, when the fucking DeviantArt OC is that?
Oh, why, Apollo? Why are you shutting us out?
What is this, fucking Frozen? Ignoring the very obvious culprit and his unclear connection to Juniper, this case was actually a pretty good start to the game. The writing's okay enough, the twist with Ted actually being the bomber and not just the killer is fun, the introduction to the animated segments is awesome, and Athena and Juniper and the relationship are great. Phoenix making his return to law is actually pretty nice, but it also meant that the case was bogged down by him stealing Athena's spotlight, and the far too fast look at Athena's emotion analyzing function, more on that in a bit, could have been a lot better. And if you played Apollo Justice or watched my review of it, you may also notice that the whole thing with the juror system being implemented following the last case of that game is just completely forgotten about. The juror system isn't in this game, nor is it mentioned at all, and spoiler, it's not in Spirit of Justice either. Honestly, this game was a really weird continuation from Apollo Justice. It feels like there should have been a game in between these two, but there's not, but whatever. Overall though, Turnabout Countdown was solid enough, and I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Wait, this case is about a serial bomber named Ted. Wait, hold on! If you're an Ace Attorney fan, then chances are you probably know about the third case, Curse, the commonly agreed upon idea that the worst case in every Ace Attorney game is the third one. In the first game it was Samurai, in the second it was Big Top, in the third it was Recipe. Admittedly, I do like that case, but it's definitely the worst one in the game, and in Apollo Justice it was Serenade. But Duel of Destinies changes up the formula by having the second case be the worst one in the game. Unfortunately, any semblance of an interesting build-up that was present in the first case was quickly detracted with this one, the Monstrous Turnabout, which is a flashback case. Already, but despite this fatal flaw, the case could still be salvageable. Unless...
Night-night, Alderman. Sweet dreams.
So, in case you didn't notice, the game just spoiled the killer like 2 seconds into the case. You may remember this technique being used in the earlier cases from the first game, but the reason that worked was because it was, well, the first game, and the early killer reveals early on helped show what type of game it would be. So this technique being used in the second case of the 5th fucking game in the series is a very bit fucking stupid. Anyways, following the intro, we learn that Apollo has been tasked with doing his main job, babysitting Trucy for the day, and oh my god, dude, she looks fucking gaunt. Jesus fucking Christ, dude, she developed a heroin addiction? So Trucy wants Apollo to accompany her to Nine Tails Vale, a traditional Japanese village located in LA. Alright, look, we're at the point in the series where you just have to stop questioning it, alright? So into Nine Tails we go, where we meet Jinxie Tenma, Trucy's, best friend, and oh my god, she's so cute! Jinxie invited Trucy to come see a festival, and I don't remember what kind of festival it was, and I cannot be fucked to look it up because I do not like this case. It also ends up getting cancelled anyways because someone's killed during it. The victim in this case is Rex QB, the now former alderman of Ninetales Vale. Damien Tenma, Jinxie's dad, is arrested for the crime as he was the only other person in the room where the murder happened. This would be a pretty cool setup for a mystery. If we, didn't already know who the killer was. There are a lot of interesting things about this case, but the most significant thing I realized near the start was, no, don't tell me. Don't fucking tell me, dude. You can't move around. You can't investigate and click on things. What the fuck? Dude. And you can't click on evidence. You can't look at evidence either. What the hell? Admittedly, I got used to the lack of these features as I played the game more, but that doesn't mean I'm fine with it. One of the coolest aspects in this series is finding out new stuff about evidence by investigating it yourself, and point and click is literally one of the primary genres of it. You can't just get rid of them because then it's kinda just a visual novel, which would be fine, I guess, but the writing in this game is too mediocre to have it be the primary focus. Before I truly crash out over that though, let's move on. Given how this is the first non-tutorial case of the game, it introduces us to some of this entry's mainstay characters. We may have technically been introduced to Athena in the last case, but this case is chronologically the first one we have with her serving as an assistant to Apollo. The case also does a good job of actually introducing Athena's analytical psychology abilities, which I barely mentioned while talking about case 1, because the introduction is so brief and so random that I don't even feel the need to talk about it. Given how I, don't like this case, it was a little unfortunate that it was one of the only ones, if not the only one, to have Phoenix completely fuck off to give these two the spotlight. But on the bright side, their banter was really fun and made this case less shitty. As for the completely new characters, we have Bobby Fulbright, the detective in this game, and I really liked his gumshoe adjacent goofiness. Just don't get too attached. We also meet the new prosecutor, Simon Blackquill, a convicted felon. Yes, you heard that right. Blackquill is a convicted murderer, as in he is a prosecutor who is prosecuting someone accused of the same crime as him. But wait, that's ridiculous, you might say. There have to be laws forbidding murderers from prosecuting, right? Well, yes, but don't worry, the game has a valid explanation for that. You see, our characters are currently in a period known as
Dark Age of the Law.
The Dark Age of the Law is a period in which the law is, well, truly in its dark age. Defense attorneys are presenting forged evidence like it's a basic human function. Prosecutors are making out as many false charges as they can, and all of this is the fault of a mysterious entity known as the Phantom. I found this whole plot to be incredible. I misread the script. I found this whole plot to be laughably edgy and corny, not to mention overblown and unrealistic. This game wants to be taken seriously, but it's really hard to do that when a fucking prison inmate is prosecuting. And he shows up in the court with a fucking hawk too. I'm making it sound like I hate Blackquill, and I don't. I mean, I don't necessarily like him all that much, especially not at this point early in the game, but I definitely prefer him to old Blank Slate from the next game, and he gets better in the final case, and we are currently on case 2. Oh yeah, that's what this part of the video is about. Apollo and Athena do some investigating, and oh no, it's the Joker on estrogen! I mean the killer! After talking with LaBelle, who is, the guy, Athena notes that her practice with analytical psychology helped her point out his comically obvious suspiciousness. I noticed it too, using common fucking sense. LaBelle is a pretty tricky guy, but thankfully, Apollo and Athena managed to find out the truth behind his crime and successfully defend Damien. Here's how the crime went down. LaBelle blackmailed Rex, the alderman of Ninetales Vale and the victim of the case, into giving him money. Through this deal, he discovered a secret. The chamber of the Ninetales Manor was connected to a forbidden chamber which housed an expensive golden ingot. In order to get the ingot, he set up a meeting with Damien and Rex and laced their coffee with sleeping pills so that they'd, fall asleep. Once they fell asleep, he killed Rex and moved Damien inside the forbidden chamber, but was unable to steal the ingot as it had already been stolen. After disguising himself as Damien and confessing to the crime in order to implicate him, he moved him outside of the Forbidden Chamber and placed his fingerprints on the murder weapon before he woke up. Yeah, it's one of those cases. This case was not great. It took an instant nosedive in quality following the first one, sporting a plethora of huge flaws. From having an abrupt flashback case for some reason, to instantly revealing the killer, to being the first case in the game to show off the lack of classic features from previous games, to introducing one of the most idiotic ideas for a prosecutor yet, to having a stupid, annoying, irrelevant, stereotypical, and painfully obvious, even after the intro reveal, villain. That's all without mentioning the awful and needlessly convoluted writing that plagues the case throughout its runtime, by the way. I'd explain why exactly the writing is bad, but that would require me going into the whole fucking wrestling subplot, and for the sake of both of our sanities, I don't want to. I'd be lying if I said I hated everything about the case, though. I really love Jinxie and her interactions with the other characters, especially Trucy, and I really hope that they bring her back at some point because she really deserved better than this case. I also like the better executed introduction of Athena, which I keep mentioning because it was, 1, in my opinion, more than welcome and much needed, and 2, fucking sick because she absolutely bodies a police officer.
Your daddy dies, I just killed your sister dies. We're gonna weep when these coppers die.
That was very cool. We also get introduced to Fulbright here, and I mean, come on, look at this, he's just so adorable. Don't get too attached. Overall, though, yeah, this case sucks. The monstrous Turnabout gets a 4 out of 10. So yeah, like I said, the last case was definitely the worst one in this game, and the third case is better. Not by much though, because surprise, this one sucks too. That's right, baby, if you thought that the dark age of the series was already over, you thought wrong, because, no, it's not. Turnabout Academy is yet another flashback case, by which I mean it takes place after the last case but before the first one, as well as another bad case and another one where we have to defend Juniper. My god, this girl had to be arrested in the worst cases. But I guess I should explain the events leading up to Juniper needing to be defended, well, again, but also for the first time since this takes place before the last case. What the fuck? Welcome to the Themis Legal Academy, a prestigious high school that focuses almost entirely on law, with the 3 main courses that are being offered there being a course for aspiring defense attorneys, a course for aspiring prosecutors, and a course for aspiring judges. Athena, Apollo, and Phoenix are invited to visit the school in order to check out a school festival going on and watch a mock trial that the school is putting on. They're also supposed to meet with a Professor Court there, but she's running late. In the meantime, we meet another professor, Professor Means, who, oh, hey, check it out, he has a Genshin Impact character skin tone. This sheet of fucking paper is Professor Aristotle Means, and not only is he the palest motherfucker alive, he's also... Yo! Jesus fucking Christ, that is fucking terrifying. This motherfucker hit us with a nage. Anyways, my god, is Professor Court running late, and I wonder what's taking her so... Oh, that's what's taking her so long. She did. While we're examining the scene, Apollo tells us some interesting information. The murder is identical to the one that the mock trial script was written about. Before we can keep investigating though, the police arrive to the scene to conduct their investigation and we have to leave for now. While the police are at the scene, we talk to Juniper, who tells us some more information about what was supposed to happen during the mock trial. She had written the script and designed the costumes, and she was also supposed to play the defendant, while these two were supposed to play the lawyers. In a pretty crazy twist, it turns out that these two are actually named Robin Newman and Hugh O'Connor. Fun fact about Hugh, I had originally been referring to him as Timothy Dickbutt in the script, but unfortunately his name becomes an important plot point later, so that fucked my whole thing up. Robin's a student in the prosecutor course, Hugh is a student in the defense attorney course, and I mean, you can probably guess who plays which role in the mock trial. Oh, they're also Juniper's best friends. We talk to this trio for a little while, but suddenly Detective Fulbright comes in and arrests Juniper for the murder. She's arrested for 2 major reasons. 1, she's enrolled in the judge course that Professor Court teaches, or taught, and 2, she wrote the mock trial script that the murder appeared to follow. But all is not lost because Athena announces that she will defend her. One pretty cool thing about this case is that Clavier is up in this bitch, baby. Sure, he may look like he's been partaking a little too much in the rock and roll lifestyle here, but this is the last time he shows up before the series forgets he exists, so it's nice to see him. He's here because he was supposed to make a guest appearance during the mock trial that didn't end up happening, which, when translated to non-bullshit, means that the devs were looking for an excuse to include him in the game. Hey, I'm not complaining though. We also meet the man in the box. Oh wait, that's a girl, fuck. This is Miriam Scuttlebutt, the editor-in-chief of the school paper. She tells us that she'll be testifying tomorrow in order to protect Juniper. Except this facade quickly cracks as it's revealed that she's not Juniper's friend at all and spreads malicious lies about her and her friends via her writing. Anyways, in court the next day... Really, Ace Attorney? Okay. We find out that Robin's actually a girl. From a young age, her parents had forced her to pretend to be a boy, having her adopt a masculine voice, wear male uniforms, wear a brace, you get the picture. Thanks to Apollo and Athena, though, she's finally able to accept her female identity with pride. I had mixed feelings about this. So if you couldn't already tell by now, Robin is supposed to be a trans-coded character. I'm not a trans person myself, so I'm not going to outright say that she's a good or bad trans allegory, but I will share my thoughts. On one hand, the game mostly feels like it's trying to be accepting. It definitely feels like an attempt was made to make a respectable story for this character. On the other hand, though, it sort of comes across as like a weird joke, and I won't lie, forcing a character to come to terms with their gender identity in the middle of an entire courtroom is a little strange. There's nothing outwardly transphobic, well, kinda, and Robin technically isn't even trans, so maybe I'm reading too far into it, who knows. All I'm saying is that I feel like her story could have been handled a lot better than it was. Anyways, more shit happens.
Objection!
Whoa! She is dangerously close to hitting a different pose there. And that shit leads to Professor Means, who I only mentioned like once in the script, whoops, being found guilty. Wow, you mean to tell me that the guy whose ideas are so diametrically opposed to the victims killed her? No way! Here's how the murder actually happened. Professor Means had been taking bribes from Hugh O'Connor, who is actually a super senior, who was 25 years old. Hugh was paying Means in order to keep his true identity hidden, and when Professor Court confronted her fellow professor about the bribery, he killed her with his staff, and framed Juniper by making the crime look like it had taken place according to her script. Case 3 of Dual Destinies was not very good. From being yet another flashback case to having yet another painfully obvious and dumb villain, to Hugh O'Connor existing, to overall just having really shitty writing, it was a case that I hated less than the previous one, but not by much. And that's all without mentioning the stupid fucking logical jumps, and I truly mean stupid, by the way. You're telling me that we're naturally supposed to come to the conclusion that you're a goner can be misheard as Hugh O'Connor? Like, I'm sorry, where's the R in between Hugh and O? The G in Connor? Hell, where's the A and O? What the fuck? And of course, all of the Dark Age of the Law bullshit. Like, this case is without a doubt the worst instance of that corny-ass plotline. I'm barely even exaggerating when I say that half of the dialogue in this case reads like this. So, Professor Means, what do you do? Oh, lots of things. I forge evidence, take bribes, punch babies, and I'm still allowed to be a defense attorney and legal professor. But hold on, how is that all allowed? Well, you see, Athena. Dark Age of the Law, Dark Age of the Law, Dark Age... I did like aspects of this case, though. It was awesome seeing Athena, 1, completely take the lead role in the case, and 2, defend her best friend, even if they, deserved a better case than this. The return of Clavier was nice too, even if he was pretty irrelevant overall and his sprite looked like that and he wasn't the prosecutor for some reason. What else? The legal academy concept was sorta interesting. The case was being sorta centered around the mock trial was intriguing, I guess. Miriam was cute. Oh, yeah, I should mention that the only reason Miriam was mean was because she really wanted to be friends with Juniper and the others, which, yeah, isn't the most original character trait, but shut up, it's sweet. And Robin was fine, even if I had mixed feelings on the handling of her gender identity. Overall, though, I did not like Turnabout Academy, and I'd give it a 4 out of 10.
Achtung, baby. It's time for the guitar serenade.
No. Never again. The Cosmic Turnabout is a weird case to talk about because it's pretty much just the build-up to the next case, but is a separate case for some reason. We play as Apollo, and thanks to this case, we finally figure out why he's acting all edgy and shit. His best friend, Clay Terran, was killed. Who's Clay, you may ask, and I can't blame you for asking that, because that's also what I wondered during this case. I'll explain who he is though, a severe case of lazy fucking writing. The reason why we don't know who Clay is because we have literally never met him, and we have never heard of him until now. That's right, our introduction to Apollo's apparent best friend is that he is dead. The writing in this game pisses me the fuck off. Both this case and the next one try to throw this whole pity party to make us care about Clay's death and its impact on Apollo, when in reality, we don't even know who this fucker is. Maybe I'd care a bit more if they had at least implied its existence in earlier cases, but they absolutely fucking didn't. Oh, also, add this to the Apollo backstory counter. The case starts out with the trial for Clay's murder, where Apollo is defending Solomon Starbuck, Clay's fellow astronaut who was wrongfully accused of his murder. Damn, I fuck with the bisexual lighting. The trial abruptly ends though, as we are finally brought back to the present, where Ted Tonate blows up the courtroom. Oh yeah, did I say that Apollo was taking the lead on this case? Phoenix ends up forcing himself back into the lead role for the investigation, with Athena serving as the assistant. After meeting with Starbuck, these sighs are unskippable by the way, we head to the Cosmo Space Center, which is where the murder occurred and where we meet the greatest character of all time, Yuri Cosmos. This dude is so fucking goofy, I love him so fucking much. After some investigating, this is Emma Erasure. This is fucking Emma Erasure. What the hell? Why the hell isn't she in this game anyway? Actually, after seeing Clavier in the last case, maybe her not being in this game isn't so bad. We run into Detective Fulbright, who, after some questioning, reveals that he's being super cooperative with us and giving us information because he's worried about Prosecutor Blackquill, who was actually wrongfully convicted for the murder 7 years ago, with the true culprit being the Phantom at the helm of, I don't know, some age of the law that's dark or something, I don't remember. His behavior has become increasingly worrying to Fulbright, as his search for the Phantom has become erratic in nature. You may have noticed that I've barely mentioned Blackquill during this script, and that's because up until this point in time, the game didn't give me any semblance of a reason to give a shit about him. Hell, even now I don't care that much. Wow, it's almost like this game's strategy with character establishment and development is to wait until the last second to make you care. Oh yeah, and the other reason I don't really care is because he has a hot sister who's way cooler than him. This is Aura Blackquill, yes her name's Aura, shut up, the lead robotics engineer of the Cosmo Space Station and the older sister of Simon Blackquill. She has somehow managed to flawlessly develop robots with human traits. In the same universe where characters are still using flip phones, don't worry, it gets even stupider in the next case. Like Simon, she's a huge asshole to us, but that's okay because the way she does it makes me feel some type of way, you know what I'm saying? God, I wish that were me.
That's unacceptable.
Anyways, we keep investigating. You and me both, Athena. You and me fucking both. We meet up with Apollo again, who's all like, I'll be taking a leave of absence. I want to solve things my own way. Dog, shut the fuck up. You're a lawyer, not fucking guts. And then the trial happens, but it doesn't really matter and we don't really have to talk about it because Yuri Cosmos is the main suspect, but he doesn't end up being the killer because, I mean, duh. The one thing I want to bring to light from the trial is an important plot point. No, I just wanted to point out this animation of Yuri Cosmos spinning around on his scooter. I love this so much, I could watch this for hours. Like I said, the Cosmic Turnabout is a weird case. It's an okay enough build-up for the next case, but as a standalone case, it's kinda just nothing. From starting at a really random point, to starting out Apollo's dumb and nonsensical angsty phase, to killing off his best friend that we never even met or cared about, to having Starbucks size be unskippable, to, you know, being turned into a build-up case for literally no reason, this case has a lot of issues. However, the intertwining between this case and the next one was kinda cool, and it was really nice not having another irrelevant flashback case. The characters were, for the most part, tolerable, especially Aura and Cosmos, for obvious reasons. I really liked them. With all of that said though, the case is just mid. 5 out of 10. Oh wait, I guess some important stuff did happen in the last case, I lied. Starbuck gets a non-guilty verdict, but the evidence that gets him deemed not guilty ends up getting Athena placed under suspicion. Obviously, Athena is not a murderer, so we investigate, and during this investigation, Cosmos gives us a bit of new information about the Phantom. They're one person, and they're also a spy. Hey, I only said it was a bit of new information. But we're not the only ones here. Juniper has also shown up to the Space Center concerned about her girlfriend's arrest. Thanks to Juniper, we find out that Athena actually used to live in the Space Center when she was a kid, due to her mother, Metis Sykes, being both a psychologist and robotics engineer there. Juniper was Athena's only human friend as a child, meaning that she spent most of her time on character AI. Or with robots that Metis and Aura built, but whatever. Unfortunately, Metis was murdered 7 years ago, and Athena was sent to live with her relatives in Europe. And who was it that was named as Metis' killer? None other than prosecutor Simon Blackquill. We go to talk to Aura about this, and alright, obviously this series is no stranger to being gay as fuck, but I am 99% sure that Aura's canonically gay. I mean, not only does half of this interaction consist of her talking about how badly she misses being with Metis, she also drops this bar during court the next day. Come on. Anyways, this is getting a little too gay. Let's head back to the office. Oh my god, it's Pearl! And she's all grown up now. At least, that's what the game wants us to believe. Don't get me wrong, seeing Pearl again was great, I really missed her, but she's supposed to be 18 in this game, and you know what she looks like? You know when people draw fan art of aged up characters, but it's literally the same fucking character but stretched out and with very minor tweaks? This is what she looks like in this game. Anyway, she's here to give us a letter from none other than Maya, who lets us know that she's been doing well but hasn't been able to visit due to her spirit channeling training. But suddenly, Aura begins to truly tweak out and she's all like, "Grr, lesbian robot powers, go!" and activates the most bullshit plot device in this game. Robots have kidnapped the visitors at the space station, including Trucy, and are holding them hostage. Look, I was willing to suspend my disbelief about human-like robots existing in this universe, but having them actually be relevant to the plot? What the fuck? Anyways, Aura's demand is a trial that solves both the death of Metis and the death of Clay Terran. Oh yeah, remember that guy? We tried to talk to Athena before it, but she now has 5 black psych locks, or should I say, Athena Psychs locks? What? Come on, that was good! So we have the trial, with, surprise, Edgeworth serving as the prosecutor because Blackquill is suspected of murder. They're just now realizing how bad of a fucking idea it was to have a convicted murderer as a prosecutor? Anyways, the trial happens, leading to us finding the real perpetrator of both crimes, Detective Bobby Fulbright. But not quite. You see, in a pretty crazy fucking twist, we find out that the real Bobby Fulbright has been dead for a whole year. The one that we've been talking to the whole time is actually the Phantom. Here's what actually happened to Metis. She had completed a psych profile on the Phantom, which led to her discovering that he had almost no emotional fluctuation. Worried about his identity being found, he snuck into the Space Center and killed her, framing Blackquill. As for what happened to Clay, it was pretty much the same thing. Another thing we figure out is that he was actually also involved in Case 1. In an attempt to get rid of any possible evidence against him, he stole Ted Tonate's bomb to trigger the explosion that occurred. Also, yeah, the reason why the courtroom looks like that is because this trial is being held in the courtroom that blew up. Just so you know. So in the end, everything is figured out. Athena and both Blackquills find out the truth about Metis' death, Apollo finds out the truth behind Clay's death and rejoins the Right Anything Agency, and we finally figure out the true identity of the Phantom. Just kidding! The Phantom's true identity is never revealed. This pissed me the fuck off. Some people have praised this choice, calling it a genius choice that makes the overarching villain more terrifying. Yeah, you know what I found terrifying? How fucking lazy the writing in this game is! Turnabout for Tomorrow is a good case. I mean, it's without a doubt the best one in the base game. Aura's character was really interesting, and no, not just because she was the closest we got to having a canonically gay Ace Attorney character, her story was just really well done. Pearl and Edgeworth, and sort of Maya, coming back was also really awesome, even if it kind of felt like Marvel-esque fan service to have them back. Athena's character arc got resolved relatively nicely, the robots, even if them existing was stupid, were cute, and the setups of the mystery were pretty cool. It just doesn't live up to its full potential due to a variety of reasons, such as being in this fuck-ass game. Okay, I'm joking, I have actual reasons. This case is held back from being really good by a lot of dumb shit. Dumb shit like it being separated from case 4 for no reason and Black Quill suddenly not being able to prosecute, despite already being a prisoner. And the way his character arc was resolved in the end was really rushed compared to the arcs of other characters like Athena too. The game also does a bad fucking job of explaining why he hated Starbucks so much. The Phantom never being fully revealed was just stupid in my opinion, and of course there was my least favorite part, the whole robots taking hostages thing. I don't care how ridiculous I sound, that part of the case made it drop a whole number rating below what I was originally going to give it. Speaking of my rating, I'd give Turnabout for Tomorrow a 7 out of 10. It could have been a fuck of a lot better, but due to the issues I mentioned earlier, it's just not. This case concludes the main story of Dual Destinies, but we're not done yet. You want to know something really funny? Turnabout Reclaimed is the best case in this game. And it is a fucking DLC case. Before we start talking about it though, I should mention that I will not be including the score I give this case in the final rating of the game since it's technically not a part of the main thing. And before anyone tries to call this bias against this game specifically, it is not. I'll be doing this with the DLC case in Spirit of Justice too when I talk about that. So Turnabout Reclaimed is Phoenix's first case after getting his badge back, and it's a very interesting one because the person we are defending is not a person, she is an orca. What the fuck am I doing, man? You are defending an orca. So here's the situation. Jack Shipley, the owner of Shipshape Aquarium, was killed, and Orla, the orca, is the suspect. The orca's trainer doesn't want her to be put down and requests our defense services. Honestly though, I mean, defending an orca? Don't get me wrong, I don't want it to be put down, but animal defense really isn't in my skill set. I mean, who even is this orca trainer who's asking I swear on literally everything that I will do everything in my power to get that not guilty verdict. We investigate the aquarium with Athena. Not Apollo though, because he's busy getting shafted by the game. More on that later. And as we investigate, we run into Marlon Rhymes, a worker at the aquarium. He tells us about one of the main animals he takes care of here, a penguin named Rifle. We also learn that the only animal he doesn't feed is Orla. Marlon gives us a fish to feed Rifle, and all of a sudden we find none other than Pearl, who's here on a school field trip. But it feels like she's hiding something from us. With the help of Phoenix's Majatama, we get Pearl to reveal that she had gotten lost on her field trip and accidentally wandered into the food prep room, where she accidentally scared Marlon, making him drop a barrel of fish that he was carrying. The reason she was hiding this was because she didn't want to get him in trouble with the sanitation department. Moving on, we meet an author named Norma de Plume, who's really uncooperative with us, but we use the Majutama and find out that she actually witnessed the murder, and has actually been trying to get dirt on Orla for a new book she's writing. Back at the Orca Pool, we do some more investigating and find a previously undiscovered bloodstained coin, meaning that there's more to this case than it seems. But that's just the start of things we don't know about regarding this case. There are so many things that we don't know yet, but here's the thing. I know what happened, because I played the game. So yeah, after 2 intense trials and another investigation, we find out what really happened. The story starts a while back. Shipshape Aquarium owner Jack Shipley rescued not 1 but 2 orca whales, bringing them to the aquarium and naming them Aura and Orla. Azura Summers, a former trainer, is a former trainer because she suffered a fatal heart attack during a show with Aura, falling into the water. When Aura tried to rescue her, however, it looked to spectators like she had killed her. Animal control ordered for the orca to be put down, but in actuality, she was sent to another aquarium. After the incident, Azura was replaced by her protege, Sasha, and Orla replaced Aura, who, now that I'm reading this script out loud, I should probably clarify that Aura is not like Aura Black Quill from the previous case. We are talking about an orca whale. We are not talking about a lesbian. Well, I mean, I guess we don't know, but we're talking about we're not talking about a human lesbian. But it gets even more tragic. Marlon, who was dating Azura, was furious at Orla, believing that she had killed his girlfriend. During cleaning time, he drained the stage pool, intending to kill Orla, but this move killed Jack Shipley instead, as he slipped and fell to the bottom of the pool. In a panic, he staged the crime scene by attempting to hide the coin that some of the captain's blood had landed on, and making it look like Orla had killed him, and making sure that de Plume saw it. The true nature of this case gets revealed. It was all a tragic accident. Marlon, realizing that he was mistaken about Azura's death, feels guilty, having done all of this thanks to false assumptions, even unintentionally and indirectly killing a man as a result. But despite all of this, we still get a happy ending. The court recognizes that Marlon is no villain, greatly lightening his sentence, and several months later, the aquarium's show returns, with both him and Orla making their return. Did it sound like I enjoyed talking about this case more than I enjoyed talking about the other ones in the game? Well, that's because I did. This DLC case really had no business being DLC, as like I said earlier, it was honestly the best one in the game. Sasha was awesome, and hot. Marlon was a cool and unique character, and his backstory with Azura was tragic. The orcas and penguins were cute. The callbacks to the original trilogy, such as Pearl coming back, again, kinda felt like Marvel-esque fan service, but I still like them. The twists and the reveal of the two orcas were really cool, and the ending was pretty satisfying. No, it's not the best Ace Attorney case ever, but it felt like a classic one, while still putting its own spin on the formula. But definitely wasn't perfect. The needless fat-shaming of DePlume that's played for laughs is just uncomfortable and unnecessary, and although Marlon, like I said, was cool, and it was nice to finally see a black character in Ace Attorney, a big part of his personality being rapping some of the worst AAVE usage ever was weird. The case originally being locked behind a DLC paywall was not only stupid, but also really unfortunate, because I can't with a good heart count it towards the final rating, given how, prior to the release of the trilogy, people had to pay extra money if they wanted to play it. But by far the most annoying issue in this case is the constant shafting of Apollo. Don't get me wrong, it's annoying as fuck when they give him the backseat treatment in other cases, but in this one, they don't even try to hide the fact that, for one reason or another, they're just too lazy to write him into it as a main character. Every single interaction with him at the Write Anything agency pretty much just boils down to, Apollo, you stay here and clean for no reason. Like, I'm barely even exaggerating. But overall, Turnabout Reclaimed was good, and I'd give it an 8 out of 10. If it had replaced Case 2 or 3, preferably 2, as a filler flashback case, then the game could have been, above average. Speaking of the game as a whole, let's talk about the non-story categories of it. The characters, art, and music, and then move on to giving it a final rating out of 10. First of all, the characters. Despite all of this game's shortcomings, I'm glad it exists because it introduces some of my favorite characters in the Ace Attorney franchise, which is saying a lot because Ace Attorney has a lot of characters. Athena's fantastic and I love her so much. Could the game have done a better job of establishing her character? Yes, a much better job. But her energy and personality are so endearing. Her banter with other characters, especially Apollo, is fantastic, and her backstory is incredible. I'll be entirely honest, she's my favorite protagonist in this game. Just would have been better if they treated her like one. I feel like Juniper's role in many aspects of the overarching plot may not feel like it only could have been filled by her, but she's cute, her relationship with Athena is adorable, and they need to bring her back if/when they make an Ace Attorney 7. I'd say the same for Athena, but I feel like that's a given. Actually, you know what? I wouldn't put it past this series to just completely forget about her. Please bring Athena back. Speaking of characters that need to be brought back, Jinxie. I said it before and I'll say it again. She deserves to be in a much better case. And what I'll also say now is that she deserves to be in a much better game. She's adorable, her dynamic with Apollo is really funny, and her relationship with Trucy is so sweet. I love her. Aura Blackquill was a great example of a sympathetic villain, and her story is surprisingly handled very well and genuinely hit me in the feels. I'd honestly really like to see her again in a future entry after she's been released from prison, and god, why are all the characters from this game that I liked girls that are hella gay? Speaking of female characters I like that are hella gay, Director Cosmos. Yeah, you know what, let's look at that scooter animation again. Let's sit here, we're gonna do this all day. Oh, and like I said earlier, I like Sasha and Marlon. As for the other characters though, I either like them in a much more casual way than the ones I listed earlier, like Miriam, I dislike them, like LaBelle and Hugh, or I was just indifferent towards them, like Simon Blackquill. I really don't know how to feel about Blackquill. For the first 3.5, or like 3.7 cases, he's just a completely ridiculous character. He feels comically evil, he's pretty much just there to be an obstacle, and he's the butt of the whole dumb Dark Age of the Law plotline. But then you get near the end of Case 4 and you kinda start to care, and then Case 5 makes you kinda care enough to want to help him, but also by that point it's kinda late. Like, just one case ago, I didn't know any of this, and you were attacking me with anime wind slashes. I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind at some point, but as of now, I really don't care about Black Quill. Don't even get me started on his hawk, too. The art in this game, okay, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, the graphics are fucking ugly. Don't get me wrong, the character designs and animated cutscenes are fantastic, as are a fair amount of the environmental designs. But the 3D models and character animations are awkward at best, and scary as shit at worst. And honestly, most of the environmental designs are just drab. They couldn't even fix these issues in the remaster, and I can say with complete certainty that the 2D games that came before it looked a fuck of a lot better. Thankfully, the music has remained consistent in this entry, which, you know, means that it's good. The reworked tracks are all great, as were the new tracks, with Athena's theme, Fulbright's theme, and the revisualization theme being the biggest standouts for me. And now, it's time for me to give my final verdict on Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. The truth is, I hate this game a lot less than I let on. No, it's not a good game, and it's definitely the worst one in the series. Well, the mainline series at least. I still need to finish the Investigations collection, and I haven't played the Professor Layton spin-off, so maybe in a few years I'll come back to eat my own ass up. Eat my own words. But it's not necessarily a terrible game either. Yes, the graphics suck. Yes, the writing is subpar and felt parody-like at times. Yes, Phoenix constantly stealing the spotlight back is really annoying. Yes, the ability to investigate areas and click on evidence is severely limited. Yes, the Dark Age of the Law was probably the dumbest plotline in the franchise. But underneath all of those faults, there's a good game hidden somewhere in here. There are interesting characters, interesting plot lines, small details worth appreciating. For example, this is the first Ace Attorney game to have character customization, which, if you're a longtime subscriber, you'll know that I'm an absolute sucker for. Unfortunately though, those positives aren't enough to make Dual Destinies a good game, leaving it stuck in one of the worst categories a game can reach: mid. I'd give Ace Attorney Dual Destinies a 5 out of 10. And with all of that said, that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, then please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and especially subscribing. If you guys could help me get to 1K by the end of the year, that would mean so much to me. Plus, by turning on post notifications, you'll be able to see my review of Spirit of Justice when I drop it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one, and until then, bye.
Okay, I swear I didn't even mean to edit the scene like this, but this fucking cut from Apollo passing out to the fucking bomb blowing up, it looks like, it makes it look like him falling caused the explosion, and I can't stop laughing at it.